I'm an active duty Air Force officer, graduated in 2019 from the academy and commissioned as an officer, and found out we had that VA loan to use. And we used that to buy our first house, zero down. It was a single family house with a with an attached guest unit, mother-in-law suite, whatever you want to call it. And we knew we weren't going to be able to cash flow with that as a long-term rental. So we thought, we stayed in Airbnbs before that. And we thought, what if we rented this on Airbnb? We're in Florida, we're close-ish to the beach. And we did that completely ourselves. We cleaned it ourselves, mostly my wife, but I helped. Then I did all the messaging and the guest relations, doing all that kind of stuff, and the operations really of just one, which is very easy. And that's why I recommend people getting into this, because they can start with very low overhead, low time commitment when you are on the residential side and have a few units, especially starting with one, and really learn it. So we learned everything, doing it ourselves, and scaled from there. So I think 4 properties at the time. Then we had a duplex that was a long-term rental, and a single family house that was a long-term rental. And I was seeing the cash flow that these things were putting off, because we found this little niche of house with the guest house or detached unit, mother-in-law suite, whatever it was. We just dove into that and bought a couple off market, bought I think 1 or 2 off the MLS, and we would furnish both of them as separate listings, and we create a listing for each one of those, and then a listing for the whole entire property. So then we have 3 listings on the same property. So we're able to maximize our revenue and use the individual listings to really fill them up with occupancy. So they were almost always 100% occupied. So every day was like bringing in money, whether it was the main house, the guest house, or the whole place. And that was great for us. And then we kind of, we pivoted a little bit when I got to that point of having my net cash flow, like after all the expenses, being more than I was, making in the Air Force. It's like, wow, this was like a 5-year plan. This just happened in 1 year because we were grinding that whole year. Made a pivot to commercial multifamily, syndicated an apartment complex after 10 months of just hitting it. I mean, we were in it, talking to brokers and all that, raising money and doing everything you have to do. And it took a lot of time, but kind of crossed that bridge. And then I had these 2 skills developed of the short-term rental operations and just the insight into, what the guests want in our market and all that kind of stuff. And in the commercial space of getting through that deal. So then we saw, looking for the next apartment complex, I saw this little 8-unit rundown motel that was like a rent by the hour place. Like, you did not want to stay there. Don't even lay on the sheets. You'll probably get like bed bugs or something. We did a full renovation. Yeah, exactly. Full renovation. After a year and a half on that, we just closed the refinance last week and made it live at the beginning of the month. But now we have 5 of those bad boys, from 8 to 20 units. And yeah, that's where we're at now.
Wow. Okay. So first I want to get into I want to just go back to the super listing strategy real quick. Cause I think, number one, people don't understand how powerful the cash flow is on those. It's, you might maybe double your revenue by buying one of those and having 2 units on the property, but you might quadruple your cash flow, which is the net amount you're putting in your pocket, which isn't super intuitive. And then the other thing it does is lowers your risk, because if Airbnb ever goes away, there's a restriction change, whatever, now you've got 2 sources of income if you had ever had to rent it out on a long-term basis. So it's much easier to cover your mortgage plus some. So yeah. I love that strategy. Can you kind of just go through that? You don't have to go through the numbers on each one, but just generally what the numbers look like on a property like that you were doing down in Florida.
Yeah. And real quick, I want to touch just on another benefit too. It's like very overlooked. And the reason why we were able to really get into it and do it is because we're buying like undervalued properties that needed work too. So we're getting good deals already, but you're buying 2 units or more. Really, like with mine, I'll say specifically with the super listing with the house and the guest house, you're buying 2 units for the price of 1. So you're buying the house and the guest house, and it's priced as a single family because it's not listed as a multifamily. So it's not like a price per unit. So what they normally do is do like a price per square foot comp or something like that. And sometimes they don't even include the guest house. I mean, you'd be so surprised at how bad some agents are, but it's a really just overlooked. So you can get in, and I'll talk about the numbers on our price points. I think, and this is the lowest one. I'll start there and work my way up. But one we bought at $78,000. It needed almost a full rehab. We rewired it, new roof. did all the new plumbing fixtures. And I wish I would at the time just done all the new plumbing because we had to replace the drain line like 2 months after anyway. And then everything after that, appliances, flooring, countertop, stuff like that. Actually, I think we left the countertops, but a very big renovation. So I think we were all in on the renovation. We're all in for 174, I think. So we were all in at the renovation, like 96,000, including the holding costs and the hard money interest that we had to, because we got a hard money loan on it. So it was 90% loan to cost. So I had to bring 10% of the total project cost, including purchase plus repairs, which was huge because that was like $17,000 that I had to bring to the deal because we're all in for 174. So for a very little amount of money, I got a house that appraised at 225. Cash flow. I did a YouTube video on this. You can go check it out on there because I can't remember the exact numbers. But like the net cash flow of this thing was $1,000 a month after leveraging, to 80%. After that, because of the house and the guest house, and the main house was a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. With a big living room. Actually, I had 2 living rooms that was really nice and open, had a nice wood paneled wall that made it picture really well. And then it had a detached in the back, like 500 square foot apartment with a full kitchen, full bathroom, and a studio layout. And then that had its own washer and dryer too. So 2 separate, you didn't have a shared wall or anything. So very often we'd have, different families in each one of those, but then we could book the whole property with one big group. I think the total property slept like 12 or 14 people. So we'd get big groups there, 2 families, a big family, whatever, coming to, and mostly it was people that were coming to stay at the beach. And this was in town in Panama City, which was probably about 15 to 20 minutes away from the beach, but we're at a cheaper price point than those houses. And we're also at half the value. Anything over on the beach side is going to probably start at like 380 to the low 4s. And I bought this for 78 and it appraised at 225. So half the price, and it cash flowed just as good. So it really boosted our return on investment because I think we got all of our money out. And I think we actually took out a little bit of money too. So we basically got paid to do the deal. Yeah. And it cash flowed $1,000 a month. And it was an awesome property. Actually,
is that the one you were living in at the time, living in one?
The one we lived in, we actually had 2 of them. We used our VA loan twice and got 4 units for free basically. But the first one we bought for $207,000, and then it had that attached guest unit. It was like a studio with a kitchenette, full bathroom, and access to the laundry room, its own separate access. That one I think grossed probably around like $2,800 a month, like on an annual average, maybe $2,500 on an annual average. And then like our mortgage was like $900, other expenses, cleaning costs, stuff like that, were maybe another, I don't know, $700-800. So we actually cash flowed a little bit to live there for free for $0 down.
So you eliminated your largest expense in pretty much anyone's budget, their cost of living, their housing, and then you made money on top of that. So you had a free place to live and it was paying you. That's why I always talk about how impactful this is to your personal
it's such a powerful
finances.
strategy.
Yeah. There's not much else you can do to make such a large impact with one transaction that will be recurring for so long. So that's amazing.
Absolutely. And even if you didn't have like the VA loan, like me, on that first purchase is $207,000 if you use the FHA, your down payment would have been like $7,000, and then you have a cash flow positive place and no mortgage payment. Yeah. I mean, it's just an awesome way to start. Plus, like when you get the next one, that's just pure investment. And then you have like the one I was talking about, that was $1,000 a month in cash flow. Like that's awesome. Because how many, long-term rentals would you need to buy to get that same thing? Maybe 3 or 4. Yeah. And then think about the capital needed to do each one. If you're doing rehabs, the time and the involvement to get there. So to be able to like accelerate your growth and accelerate whatever that financial freedom number for you is super powerful.
Yeah. And a lot of people probably are thinking, well, yeah, this was a couple of years ago in Florida. Does this actually work still today? And do you think you can still make the numbers work?
Yeah, I think if I bought it today, so that first house at 207,000 was probably worth anywhere like probably like 260 ish now. So with that mortgage payment, it'd probably be like 1,200 or 1,300 instead of the 950 or whatever it was. So we would still be like right, and rates like the gross income, the rental rates, the ADRs have gone up over that same time, just because appreciation. So if you can still lock in that your 30-year interest rate, your rates rise over time. So it'd probably still be like close to break even. Maybe it's $100 a month, but would you pay $100 to live in a really nice renovated house? I think so.
Yeah.
And then that one that was 78, we bought it for 78,000, appraised at 225. I sold that in September of last year for 300. And, at that price, they're still cash flowing probably $700 ish, maybe $600 a month. So yeah, definitely still works.